In this video, I'll be taking a look at Dead Cells version 1.1. This just dropped on consoles. You can get this on PS4, Xbox One, and the Nintendo Switch. If you're on the Nintendo Switch version of this game, all you have to do is go home, press the plus button on your controller over the Dead Cells logo, and you should see at the very top, it should say version 1.1.0. That means you're on the latest version of the software. If you're not on the latest version of the software, go down to software update and then check via the internet. Once you check on via the internet, it should say you are using the latest version of the software. If you're not, it's going to download the latest version of the software. But yes, I am currently on 1.1.0. Now, if you're on PC, you've already had this update for quite some time now. It came out in beta form back in November, and then in December, they finally officially released it to PC, and then consoles are getting it a couple months later. But there we go. We finally have 1.1, the Pimp My Run update for Dead Cells. Now, first off, I want to address on the Nintendo Switch version, they did actually fix the frame rate. The frame rate is a buttery smooth 60 FPS now. You guys may remember when the game first came out, it was having a lot of problems on Switch, and then a little bit after the game came out, they actually dropped a patch that actually fixed the performance of the game, but the game still didn't play buttery smooth at 60 frames per second, but now it does play at 60 frames per second with the 1.1 update on the Nintendo Switch version, so that's good news. What does the 1.1 update actually do in Dead Cells? Well, as far as content, you may be wondering, there is absolutely new content. I think we do get one new bow, but outside of this one new bow, we don't get any new content in the game whatsoever. This is strictly an update mostly for changing how the game actually plays. There is one significantly cool thing about this update which I'm going to show you, but if you're looking for new content, maybe new enemies, new items, new weapons, new things like that, this is not it. However, Motion Twinge did actually say that they are going to be releasing another update that's going to be a free update that's actually going to give us brand new stuff in the game, like weapons, items, biomes, enemies, bosses, and things like that. But that's not coming for a very long time. But they did say that was supposed to be coming sometime in the near future. So that's good news. Basically what this is a balance patch for most things in the game. But this balance patch, or these patches in the game that actually change the game, are actually very significant. There are a lot of different things changed in the game. The best way I can put 1.1 is it's pretty much a harder version of Dead Cells. So if you couldn't beat Dead Cells before, you're definitely not going to be beating it anytime soon in 1.1. A lot of things in 1.1 just make this game a much more harder game. There's so many patch notes to this, I can't actually list off every single patch note that they actually changed in 1.1. So I'm going to try to leave a link down in the description where you can actually go to a website where it'll show you all the different changes and all the different patches they did to the game in 1.1, because there's so much to do, especially if you play on the hardest difficulty in the game. This game is just downright brutal at this very moment. But let's go ahead and go into 1.1 and show you the most significant change. Now, the most significant change we got in the 1.1 update for Dead Cells is the fact that now we can actually do custom runs. Yep, we can do custom runs. What does custom runs actually mean? Well, if you go to play, you can see normal mode, continue custom mode, or custom mode. I'm gonna go into custom mode and show you what you can actually do in custom mode. So for instance, you got default presets, equipment, advanced options. Basically what custom does, it allows you to play the game your way. So it pretty much allows you to pick and choose what weapons you want to play with, what abilities you want to play with, different modifiers and things like that. So you can kind of customize it the way you want to play, which is absolutely brilliant. I think more roguelike games like this should have a custom game mode, or a way to turn off items on and off, and things like that. So let's go to a default presets. You can see that there is a lot of default presets already set by Motion Twin. They have certain ones right here, like I Love Brutality, you play with brutality weapons only. Tactics, you play with tactics weapons only. Survival, same thing. Closer to danger, and things like that. As you can see, all these different ones. But then if you go to the bottom, you can actually make your own custom preset. Here are all the custom presets for Dead Cells. Let's go into just any of them. Custom preset, and then you can see at the bottom advanced options, equipment, activate. I'm going to go into advanced options. You can see you can change how many potions you want to have active. Of course, a lot of this stuff you do have to unlock as you're actually playing the game, but I already unlocked almost everything in Dead Cells, so I have all the options available to me. But there it is right here. You can basically make the game harder yourself if you want to. Let's go back into this. You can see here's all the different settings right here. You can see on the Nintendo Switch version they did actually add achievements to this game, and if you use some of these modifiers and like these cheating stuff that they put in the game, it kind of like messes up the achievements and you can't use achievements. But that's fair because you're pretty much making the game easier and they don't want you getting achievements for making the game easier. Actually, I'm not too sure if you have these modifiers on, if you're allowed to still unlock stuff and still allow to unlock stuff. I can't really confirm that, but I'm not going to go through all of these stuff. But then if you go to advanced equipment, you can see I still have some stuff to unlock in my runs. I'm going to go ahead and do that. I've been working to complete some of this stuff, but I've almost unlocked everything in the game. But yeah, you can turn everything off or on so you'll never see it in your run. Like I said, it pretty much takes all the roguelike elements out of Dead Cells. But I think this is a genius idea because then you can play with your favorite weapon whenever you want to, and you can play it with whatever weapons you want to. Of course, not every weapon in the game is going to be suitable to your playstyle, so it is nice you can do this if you don't want to do the RNG type elements in a game like Dead Cells, which is nice. And here's all the mutations. And, yeah, that's pretty much it. And then you can save your custom game. Let's go ahead into a game really quickly because I actually wanted to show you guys something in this. I wanted to show you some of the changes they actually did to a lot of the mutations. A lot of the mutations just got slightly different or slightly harder. So let me go ahead and do a quick little run to the first gate so you can see the first biome or the first thing where you get your mutations. So as I was getting ready to upload this video, I did realize that I went ahead and looked at the patch notes for Dead Cells 1.1, and I realized as I was making this video, I actually talked about some stuff that was kind of misleading, and I don't want you to go to the Dead Cells 1.1 patch notes and call me a liar or just call me like a misleading person, because I want to be as transparent as I possibly can with this 1.1 update for Dead Cells. First off, I talked about the difficulty of this new patch. I talked about how this game is much more harder than it previously was. That is true to an extent. It's actually going to be very hard if you play on the harder difficulty. Specifically, the hardest difficulty in the game is actually going to be much more harder in 1.1 than it previously was on the other version of Dead Cells, so keep that in mind. If you're actually playing this game on an easier difficulty, the easiest difficulty in the game, you're actually going to be playing a much more easier version of Dead Cells slightly. When I mean slightly, I mean slightly. It's not like this game is going to be a very easy game. It's still not going to be a walk in the park, but at least if you're starting this game fresh and you don't know what you're doing and things like that, you should have an easier time in the game. So keep that in mind about the difficulty. Now you know. And one thing I wanted to talk about, which I didn't even mention before, is the fact that this game, they had a problem back prior to 1.1 where the game would actually enemies would actually out-scroll you. So basically every time you picked up a scroll in the game, the enemies would level up past the level of scrolls you had. So you're pretty much at always a disadvantage when it comes to picking up scrolls, and enemies just being stronger than you at most cases, and that wasn't good. So basically what I'm saying is picking up too many scrolls in prior to 1.1 was not a good idea, and it was kind of pointless to pick up as many scrolls as possible. Now that has been fixed in 1.1. 1.1, you need to pick up as many scrolls as possible because enemies don't outscale you when it comes to picking up scrolls, so just keep that in mind in 1.1. And also talking about the mutations really quickly, I want to say some of them did get harder and kind of useless, but then a lot of them did get better off in general for the actual player, so keep that in mind as well. I said all the mutations in the game are flat out worse than they were before. That's not actually the case. It's on a mutation to mutation basis, so just to keep that in mind when it comes to the actual mutations of the game. And then that's about it. That's pretty much all I wanted to throw in my video because there's too much to talk about when it comes to Dead Cells 1.1. Dead Cells 1.1 just has way too much stuff in the actual patch notes and too many changes, so you will again have to read all the patch notes if you want to know every single thing that changed in 1.1. I highly recommend taking a look at the patch notes if you're an old player or you play a lot of Dead Cells, because there's been a lot of different changes in 1.1, and it's definitely worth your time to look at all the different things in 1.1 patch updates. So I'm just going to run through all these enemies as quickly as possible. I could just do a cut here, but I'm just going to run through it real quick. So it only take me a couple of seconds here. Let me take that shield. And yeah, you can probably see the performance on video. Unfortunately, my cap card doesn't support 60 FPS, so unfortunately, you're not seeing this game play at 60 FPS, but trust me, the Nintendo Switch version got fixed, and it does play at 60 frames per second. Now, here we go into the second biome, and I'm going to show you some of the mutators in the game. A lot of the mutators in the game got changed, so let's go to this. Oh, and there's also these new doors. I did forget to mention these new doors. Let me go into one of these new doors that are in Dead Cells 1.1. They pretty much give you some free Dead Cells, some free money, and then they give you a free weapon of your choice. Of course, these are speedrun doors just like before, but these are new doors that are going to be in the in-between levels, which is nice. So you can get, it kind of does help you out a little bit. But let's go ahead and go into mutations really quickly so you can see some of the different mutations if you are curious about that. Here's all the mutations I have. Now this one at the bottom, I do know for a factor you only live once, or Yoder Oris Leox. Used to work is if you lost this mutation when you went back into a biome, you can replace it, but now you cannot replace this one. So that one I do know for a factor definitely got worse in 1.1. It's one you really don't want to use, because after you die and come back, that third spot is pretty much inactive the whole entire game, and then you're left with only 2 mutations. So they pretty much change that. And then you can read some of these other ones, like decreases the cooldown of your skills by 0.3 seconds for each enemy killed, so that you can see they definitely changed that. And you can just read some of these ones, but yes, a lot of these just work extremely different. One of them that I noticed that was different was Dead Inside. Dead Inside definitely works different as well. HP plus 50%. Food no longer heals you at all, so you're getting more health, but you're sacrificing health pickups. Health pickups may not seem that valuable unless you're playing on the higher difficulty. You may want to take that in consideration. I think, yeah, you can just read all these different mutations and things like that. And, yeah, that's pretty much it for Dead Cells 1.1. There's a lot that's changed, trust me. I didn't go over everything because there's just way too much to talk about, but you'll have to read the patch notes 1.1, and you'll have to read them super carefully. If you're a person that just is picking up Dead Cells for the first time, this probably won't even concern you because you're playing it like a brand new game anyway, so you won't really need to know. But if you're playing this game again because maybe you bought it when it first came out, or maybe you bought it in the last couple of months and you're on console, you may want to give this game another go, just because the game's heavily changed. This is almost like an entirely brand new game. They're just not slightly different things they changed. Everything changed pretty much dramatically, but that's pretty much Dead Cells 1.1 in a nutshell on console. You can download it right now on PS4, Xbox One, and the Nintendo Switch. Anyway, guys, this is Wayne from My Tech News.